What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. Now, I want to do a series, and basically, this video is going to be based on a lot of talk around Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. Now, I don't know if I'm gonna do a 2 or 3 part. It depends. We'll see. Hopefully, the videos come out in order as I upload them. And basically, just want to put some clarity on some things and bring some things to the light that a lot of people overlook. Now, for starters, I've already seen the Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather fight a dozen times. And I just sat and watched it the other day. Last night, rather. And nothing changes on my perspective of how I see things. And the reason why I go over and over and over things is to see everything, because there's something that you can easily overlook, right? So I do it without the influence of what people are saying. But when people say things, you'll notice certain things, or certain things will be exaggerated or undermined, all that type of stuff. And basically, I don't like to base my channel on opinions. I mean, we all have our opinions, but if I'm just giving you opinions, then, I mean, what are we doing? You know, what are we talking about? You know, I think a lot of people as well, they get caught up. Well, I mean, I see this. They get so caught up into, you know, oh, this person is ducking this person. This person is ducking that person. This person ducking. It's always some phrase that comes up that's the new thing to say. Okay, like we calling every angry woman Karens now and all this nonsense, but it's like everything is always this person is ducking, this person ducked this person. Now, I watched the fight, and there's some things, a lot of things that just always the same things keep coming to mind. I don't watch anything as a fan. I watch it to be realistic, and as realistic, as close to 100% as possible about everything. We can only go by what we see and what fighters say and do. I don't, you know, I'm not at fighter meetings. I'm not in the dressing room. I don't know what's going on in preparation. I can't speak on that. Okay, things on videos are edited a lot of times, and regardless, I'm not doing any of it as a fan of a particular fighter. I give credit where it is due. Now, I watched the fight, and I come to the same conclusion. Manny Pacquiao had a plan A. No plan B, no plan C. He could not figure out how to get to Floyd. Manny Pacquiao repeatedly, whenever he would get Floyd close to the ropes, he would jump in and just start throwing those little fast flurries. No rhyme or reason. Nothing strategic, you know, fake go to the body, come back to the head. None of that. Just flurries. Just trying to land, just trying to touch him, trying to pile up points. Manny Pacquiao missed so many of his punches, but the crowd goes crazy every time his hands move. Okay, from the first to the last round, anytime he throws a flurry, the crowd is screaming and he's not hitting anything. Okay, he had some moments in the fight. Manny Pacquiao, when he would try to double jab against Floyd, Floyd would just step away. He would just simply, you know, and basically, Manny couldn't land that straight right hand like he wanted to. Straight left hand, I'm sorry, because he's a southpaw. He couldn't land that straight left hand like he couldn't really land anything significant consistently. Like I said, he had moments where he landed some shots on Floyd. Floyd knew Manny cannot get past my jab, and he couldn't get past that right hand. Floyd's father kept telling him, you know, throw the right hand and then follow with the left hook. And honestly, I think several times, it was one of the rounds where Floyd came out, he was just throwing hooks like 2 or 3 in a row, and pop, pop, right? But I think Manny as a southpaw, was looking for that right hand and a left hook. Floyd instinctively, when you're a fighter and you're in the ring, instinctively, your trainer is telling you one thing, but your instincts, you kind of know, nah, I don't think right now, nah. Right now, let me just do what I'm doing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Floyd, he landed 148 punches to 81. So for anybody that says, oh, he lost that fight, I don't know how you land 81 punches in a 12-round fight and you get hit with 148, but you won. Well, there's no doubt in my mind who won that fight. Now, all the Floyd hate, whatever, it's not going to change the reality. It's not going to change the outcome of that fight. Floyd dominated. The most one judge had Manny winning 4 rounds out of the 12, which means Pacquiao won 4 out of the 12, which means, in his eyes, Floyd won 8. One judge gave Pacquiao 3 rounds. Another judge gave him 2 rounds. Now the fans, oh, it was a lot closer than what they said. And look, one thing I noticed about that fight, the fans was actually into it. They were cheering. But because of the outcome, it was a boring fight. It was a boring fight. Roy Jones said, look, we got what we asked for. Floyd is doing exactly what he's supposed to do. We got what we asked for. Ain't no need to complain. And he's right. He's right. The outcome of that fight, people wanted Floyd to lose. They knew. That's why when Floyd got up on the ropes, he strapped me up. I know I won. Hey, Floyd, he won that fight. No problem. The fans that wanted him to lose, oh, it was a boring fight. It was, oh man, we got robbed. Okay. Which made me pose the question, how come years later when people say, how come he never gave him a rematch? The same people. Well, if you got robbed for $100 ordering that pay-per-view, or if you went there live and saw it, well, why would you even want a rematch if the fight was so damn boring and dull? The one thing that cracks me up when I watch it, Manny Pacquiao was throwing fast, hard punches from the first round to the last round. At the end of the fight, he's raising arms up in the air. He's, and I was noticing, not one time that not just last night, but period. But just to get my thoughts together, so when I make this video, Manny Pacquiao, not one time in that fight mentioned to his corner, I hurt my shoulder. And people, oh, he didn't want them to stop the fight. No, he's throwing punches. There was no indication, no concern. Nobody's, are you okay? Are you physically? Nothing. And for people that say, but Manny Pacquiao throw 100 punches around, how come he was only throwing 35 to 40? Because he could not find Floyd. He could not catch Floyd, and he was getting caught with shots. So after the fight, they didn't ice his shoulder down to do anything to it. But at the post-press conference, he comes out with his arm in a sling. He's smiling. He's not in pain. I mean, a torn rotator cuff, because that's what they said it was. We never got any clarity on that. We never got any confirmation that this was actually true. Then all of a sudden, he goes swimming in some sea salt water and God healed him. Okay. Look, with all the excuses that people make, with all of these, oh, but they never fought again. There's always one excuse to another. I was looking at the simple fact is they were trying to make excuses for Manny Pacquiao even after the fight. Example, listen to Max Kellerman's questions and then listen to Manny Pacquiao's answers. He asked him, I noticed the size difference. Was he just too big for you? Okay, wait. And Manny Pacquiao says, no, says I fought bigger people than Floyd. And I'm like, thank you. You think Max Kellerman and all these guys are some boxing aficionados? Like anything they say is just law? No, that was a stupid question in my opinion. That was a stupid question. I mean, this is the same Manny Pacquiao that fought De La Hoya after Floyd fought him. The funny thing is, after Floyd beat him, oh, De La Hoya is not the same fighter. When Manny Pacquiao beat De La Hoya, Pacquiao is a fascinating fighter. And he fought him a full year after. Um, he fought guys, Margarito, who's bigger than him, bigger than Floyd. He fought Cotto, who's bigger than both of them, naturally bigger guy. But why is it when he fought Floyd, was Floyd too big? And they both came from what? Pacquiao came from 106 or something like that. Floyd came from 130. So neither one of them were natural welterweights. They both came up and fought at weight classes that that heavier than what they started in. But those questions. But if you listen to Manny Pacquiao's answers when he asked him about the fight, I think I win the fight. I think I win. And Max Kellerman goes, you think you won the fight? Because nobody agreed with that. Then he's asking like what happened, what went wrong in the fight. Because the guy he moved. He not stand. If he move, it's not easy to hit when the guy move. But when the guy if he stand and he stand, then I can fight. Listen at what he just said. That's self-explanatory. I didn't know how to cut the ring off and catch up with him. Everything I said I was going to do, it looked a lot easier from the outside looking in. But when I'm in there with him, I couldn't find him. I'm trying. No, why? He's getting hit coming in. It's not because Floyd was just moving. No, he's getting hit when he comes in. And then it's times Floyd would attack and just go at him and hit him. And he kept the jab in his face. Let's not be stupid, people. I don't care whether you like Floyd or not. I don't care who you like, whether you like Pacquiao or not. That's not what it's about for me. If you're coming in and you're not getting hit, why can't you cut the ring off? Floyd does not move nearly as much as Ray Leonard or Muhammad Ali or Ray Robinson for that fact. He does not move nearly. He just loses. He uses lateral movement. He sidesteps, and he'll just go on the back foot and keep distance. And the only time you'll see Floyd like really move is when he does it to break your rhythm, and then he'll get right back in there. Okay. If you are watching the fight, any fight, with malice in your heart towards a fighter, there's no need to talk about it because you're just going to be biased. Okay. I watched that fight, and like I said, every time I watch it, there's nothing. I come to the same conclusion. Floyd was just a better fighter. Now to ask, was he just too big when he's fought people much bigger than that? Are you serious? Someone said in the comments, right, on one of the videos I did, that I'm not hating on Floyd, but Floyd ducked. He gave a bunch of names. Let me tell you something about those names and about this whole situation right here. Okay, and I'm gonna have to break this down into 2 or 3 videos because it's too much to say, and I really don't want to just make one long video. They take so long to upload, but I'm gonna make this as long and as short as I possibly can, if that makes sense. To say I'm not hating, but Floyd ducked Margarito. He ducked Vernon Forrest. He ducked Costa Zoo. He didn't fight a prime Miguel Cotto or Shane Mosley. Okay, let me make something clear. And you guys got to do your homework, man. Don't sit up and watch a flashback fight and then try to comment on a history of something that you don't even understand what you're saying. I don't care how long you've been watching boxing. When you make comments that basically are empty, right? You got to learn to educate yourselves and start watching shit and stop listening to people who agree with you. Because what happens is you think that you're supporting your claim with your opinion. You have no proof that Floyd ducked anybody or any fighter. To say that a guy ducked someone, okay, based on because the fight didn't happen. How can you say who's ducking who? Let me give you something that you guys are not looking at, okay, when you say this. When Floyd Mayweather was fighting at 130, 135, when Floyd Mayweather was calling out Hassan Ahmed, Costa Zoo, Diego Corrales, all these guys he was calling out, Eric Morales, where were they at? Floyd was not the cash cow then. These guys were not, and he was called. Do your homework. All you got to do is simply go right here on YouTube and pull these fights up. I think it was after the Diego Corrales fight when Larry Merchant said, after this performance, Prince Nassim Hamed is certainly not going to fight you after this performance. So where do you go from here? Bob Arum, all these guys. Floyd Mayweather is the greatest fighter I've seen. He's better than Ali and even Ray Leonard. This guy is in a class by himself. Business goes sour. He's overrated. Oh, he's not this, he's not that. You know how that goes. Let me just say this. After he got in that position, because remember, a lot of people, oh, his first pay-per-view was against De La Hoya. That's no, it wasn't. His first pay-per-view was against Arturo Gatti. Okay, and that's what elevated him to get to that fight with Oscar De La Hoya, because now he became a star after he destroyed Gotti. Before the Gotti fight, it was people was, oh man, Gotti gonna be too much for him. Until you seen that, you seen Mickey Ward and Gotti? Did you see those fights? Man, Mickey Ward and Gotti, those dudes, Floyd ain't gonna be able to handle that. He dismantled Gotti with no problem. After he got beat, it was all these excuses. What is the excuse? What's the excuse? It's either, like I said before, the guys are either too big, too small, too old, or too young. But they're never too big for Floyd. But Floyd's too big for guys that's his size. You know, Shane Mosley was called out. Shane Mosley did to Floyd the same thing Keith Thurman did to Errol Spence. But now all of a sudden that Keith Thurman has an ass whooping and no belt, and Spence still has his belt. Oh, either fight me or get out the division. Right? Now he has all this to say because he's in no A side position anymore. When Floyd Mayweather moved up in every weight class and fought who he fought to get the belt, the guy defeated 16 world champions. Let me say this. I got people saying things like Pacquiao fought everybody. No. Pacquiao fought 10 rematches. Okay? He fought Eric Morales 3 times. He fought Timothy Bradley 3 times. He fought Juan Manuel Marquez 4 times. Out of those 10 rematches, there could have been other fighters that he was going after. What was significant about any of these rematches? Why the rematches? Pacquiao didn't fight Costa Tzu. Pacquiao didn't fight Diego Corrales. He didn't fight Jose Luis Castillo. He didn't fight Zab Judah. You understand what I'm saying? But you guys that you naming guy, he didn't fight Vernon Forrest. You understand what I'm saying? He didn't fight Winky Wright. So all of these guys that you're saying that Floyd didn't fight, you got to understand, for one, fights have to make business sense. Okay, this is not like Fight Night Champions or Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat where you can just take the control and make these guys fight each other. Oh, yeah, let's make him fight him. Oh, yeah, listen. That's not what this is. This is real life, man. And even when the fighter wants to get in these fights, the team is like, listen, the promoter, this fight doesn't make sense. This is not a fight you need right now. It's just another notch on your belt. Let me explain this to you as well, okay? Who the fuck was Costa Tzu? Costa Tzu got famous for knocking out Zab Judah in 2 rounds. Other than knocking out Zab Judah, who talks about Costa Tzu? You can't even tell me who Costa Tzu fought that you even care about. Then Costa Tzu gets destroyed by Ricky Hatton in 2 rounds. But Floyd didn't fight Costa Tzu. But didn't Floyd knock out Ricky Hatton in the 8th round and gave him whatever round it was and gave him his first loss? Absolutely. And you know what's funny? Before Ricky Hatton fought Floyd, I never heard anybody say, oh, Ricky Hatton has a weak chin. No. Okay, he has a weak chin after Floyd beats him. But guess who fights him next? Manny Pacquiao. Shane Mosley just destroyed the cheater, the guy with the plaster in his Margarito. Just destroys Margarito. And what happens? What happens? Shane Mosley hasn't lost a step. This guy just beat the big bad monster, Margarito. Everybody who can knock somebody out is a monster to Max Kellerman. And you guys go repeating everything he say or whoever these TV personalities are. Didn't Floyd spank Shane Mosley with no problem? Shane had 2 good moments in the whole fight. But all of a sudden, it's funny. The very fight before that, Shane was back. Shane was back, didn't lose a step. But when he fought Floyd, oh, he was old. Guess who fights him a whole year later? Manny Pacquiao. When Oscar De La Hoya fought Shane, this was the biggest fight, money fight, big mega fight, and Floyd Mayweather, the smaller guy coming up, fights him at his comfortable weight. Didn't make him drain himself. Went up to his weight class. Cleverly outboxes him, studies him, fights back and forth, and up to like the sixth round, and then Floyd just starts to take over. And people are saying, "Oh, De La Hoya stops jabbing." I don't know why. Why? Because it wasn't working. He was getting counted. And he started getting tired, and Floyd started capitalizing, just like Floyd told him, "Don't get tired." Floyd is a calculated fighter, but he wins the fight. Oh, maybe Floyd. I think De La Hoya is not the same. Oh, who fought him a year later? Manny Pacquiao. Mm. But when Manny Pacquiao beat him, he's just a great, terrific fighter. Manny Pacquiao came all the way from 100, right? Like Floyd did, right? From lightweight all the way up. It's just amazing when Pacquiao does it, but it's not when Floyd. And for someone to say, but Pacquiao beat him in a more stunning fashion, so what? If that's your opinion, you like what he did better, okay. But when they fought each other, guess what? Manny Pacquiao got beat by Floyd and only won. To be honest with you, I think 4 rounds was a gift. One judge had him winning 4, one had him winning 3, one had him winning 2. Still a big margin. Now, let's look at Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley fought both of those guys. And you know what? It was hard for him to just give Floyd his credit after he talked all that trash and he's going to be too much man for Floyd, blah, 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 right? And he was just hard for him to give him his credit. At the end of the fight, when they asked him what happened, what did he say? I just couldn't throw punches. I don't know if it's because he was laying on my neck or on my back. I just couldn't throw punches. When he lost to Manny Pacquiao, what did he say? This man's amazing. His speed is probably he can punch. Oh man, he's a man, right? Do y'all remember before Pacquiao and Floyd fought, and Shane had that interview where he had these big cowboy boots on, the blue jeans and a little tan sweater? Do you remember what he said? I was injured in both of those fights. The Pacquiao and the Mayweather fight, I had a groin injury. I was injured in both of those fights. He didn't say that at the end of that fight. And the funny thing about the Pacquiao fight, when his father was telling him, like, Shane, man, Shane, you gotta throw your punches, man. You gotta let your hands go. What did he say? I can't move. I got a blister under my foot. I can't move. Now he had a growing injury. Okay. But the fact that if you try to debunk what he's saying, and say no, Pacquiao just beat you, then it's the same thing for Floyd, or vice versa. Okay? This is not about me choosing a side. I'm looking at what's in front of us, but how people try to stir the pot and make it what they want it to be. Look, Shane Mosley got beat. Shane Mosley also fought Canelo Alvarez a couple of years later. And nobody made such a big... I mean, there was a few people saying, well, yeah, Shane is older now, this and this, but they praised Canelo Alvarez highly for that. And let's go to the fight. I don't remember who it was it might have been Ortiz, somebody that Mayweather had just beat. Larry Merchant stares there and goes, if Floyd Mayweather thinks he's pound for pound the best fighter in the world, why doesn't he fight Canelo Alvarez? And Jim Lampley, absolutely, and that's the fight we all want to see, and yada, 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 yada. But then when he gets beat, he was too young. The man had way more amateur fights than Floyd had, almost as many professional fights. They both had 40-plus fights, and yet he was too young. How old was Floyd when Floyd won his first championship? 21, 22. Like I said in the previous video, Ali, 21. Mike Tyson, 20. Wilfred Benitez, 17. All these guys make all of these, they marvel at these guys and say how these guys back in the day was this and that, and they did this, and they accomplished this. When Floyd does it, you overlook that. So basically, he was the same age or whatever, or a little bit younger, a year younger, whatever, than what Canelo was. But somehow Canelo, with less fights, beat Canelo Hernandez in easy fashion, chipped him up bad. But somehow he was, Canelo was too young. But then when he beat Hernandez, Hernandez was too old. It's like every excuse in the book to not give the man his credit. Right? Okay. Let me kill this whole narrative, this false narrative. This is a fallacy of ignorance right here, man. What people say back in the day, everybody for everybody. This is bull. I don't do the ducking thing. If you look at any video I did, you don't hear me ducking. This guy's ducking. This guy's ducking. This guy's ducking. Now, let me give you two fighters who I say I don't think they want to fight certain fighters. I don't think Keith Thurman wanted to fight Errol Spence in the beginning because of his actions. He completely dismissed everything that Errol Spence was accomplishing, talking like he hasn't gotten to that level yet, right? Now, all of a sudden, he has no belt, like I said, and Keith and Errol Spence still has his belt. All of a sudden now he's calling this guy out. Pacquiao. Before I get to Pacquiao, Deontay Wilder says one thing: I'm going to fight Anthony Joshua. And then what does he do? He turns around again and says it's not going to happen. Here's a guy that turned down 120 million and simply said because he didn't know they wouldn't tell him what Anthony Joshua was making. So that's why they wasn't interested. You turned down 12 million from Team Joshua. Then they upped it to 15 million. But then you went and fought Luis Ortiz for what, 2.5 million? And after you dismissed Anthony Joshua as you don't think he's as good as people say he is, and Anthony Joshua did nothing but give you credit, and all you have is a right hand. All right? Okay. Dangerous with the right hand, but that's all you have is a right hand. It's not your skill set that anybody has to worry about with him. Just that right hand. That's it. The straight right. Not the hook, not the uppercut, not the body shot, just the straight right hand. Okay. If you are going to say everybody fought everybody, that's bullshit. So, Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns all fought each other. And that's what they all have in common. And they all were great fighters. Don't get it twisted. But let me show you how you guys overlook things. Key things. Marvin Hagler, for example, as a pro, only fought at 160. Do you guys realize Roberto Duran was a lightweight and went all the way up to 160 and fought Marvin Hagler? Did anybody call Marvin Hagler a weight bully? Did you guys realize Sugar Ray Leonard, natural 147 pounder, went up? Thomas Hearns came in the pros at 147. Do you realize that these guys were all naturally smaller than Marvin Hagler and went up and fought him? But you give Marvin Hagler praise, right, for fighting these guys. They all fought each other. They all are great fighters. This is not to take anything away from them. What I'm saying is the same thing as you give them you giving Marvin Hagler a green light for fighting smaller guys. Smaller guys. Now, let me ask you something about Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, and Thomas Hearns. Was they ducking Nigel Benn? Not Nigel Benn. Well, yeah. Was they ducking James Toney? Was they ducking Julian Jackson? Huh? Was they? Yeah, you could say Nigel Benn and Chris Eubanks too. Was they ducking them? Because these guys were pros already in the fight. Was they ducking Mike McCallum? Was they ducking Michael Nunn? Because these fights never happened. You see, this is what I'm saying. But yet, you don't say that they were ducking. I don't use the term ducking. I basically just say the fights didn't happen. When you say you're going to fight somebody, you call somebody out, then you don't fight them, that's one thing. Now, to give some names of possible opponents, that's not ducking somebody because you choose somebody different. Sean Porter had the nerve to say he think Mayweather picked Berto because he wanted the easy knockout. Didn't Sean Porter fight Andre Berto after Floyd fought him? So if Andre Berto's an easy win, why'd you fight him? Do you guys think about that? But then you guys say, oh, but he didn't fight Sean Porter, he didn't fight Keith Thurman. You know what's driving Manny Pacquiao to keep fighting right now? And I can't say that the guy don't love boxing, but he's trying to erase the fact he lost to Floyd Mayweather and trying to add more to his legacy because he wants to go down in history as being greater than Floyd. That loss bothers him more than you guys realize. This is why he keeps fighting. I never saw Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Errol Spence, those guys being on Manny Pacquiao or Mayweather's level. Honestly, I think stylistically, I just think Errol Spence, the way Pacquiao like to reach, I would go with Spence over Pacquiao. I just think his style, stylistically, and his power, I think he knocked Manny Pacquiao out. Pacquiao's too all that hoppity jump in the way. I think he knocked Manny Pacquiao out. But that's just me. But at the same time, the point what I'm saying is, I saw them all as not being on that same level. But out of 10 rematches, why didn't Manny Pacquiao fight somebody else other than the 10? I mean, you fought the same people over and over. Mayweather has 4 rematches. You know what I'm saying? Well, twice against Castillo and twice against Maidana. But 10 times you fought the same people. Nobody points that out. But as far as boxing in general, as a whole, and people saying a guy ducked another guy, this is just hearsay. Now, I'm gonna cut this video. This is gonna be a part 1. I'll label it as part 1. And when it's all said and done, whether it's 2, 3, or 4, however you guys will see it, that's all I'm gonna say in this video, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.